What is up, YouTube? Today I am bringing you my first ever upload to my channel, and today it will be a 5th generation standard UU match. And this is a game I had against a guy called HikenNoAce. I found him off this mode on Wi-Fi Battle Finder, and it was a pretty good match, and hence I'm showing it to you. But yeah, I'll get straight into it. He's going to lead with his Swamper as I lead with my Frostlass. I'm predicting to go for Stealth Knots right off the bat, and so this Frostlass carries Taunt. I'm going to use it, and he predicts me to probably go for the Taunt, so he's going to switch into his Heracross, and he thinks that he's going to catch me off guard by switching out, because I wouldn't really want to die to Frostlass now, would I? So he's going to go for the Pursuit, as I do not switch out. And so that Pursuit's not going to do too much to me, considering it is a Heracross and this is a Frostlass. Not too defensively bulky. And right here I'm just going for a Destiny Bond, so I'm thinking he's going to go for a Stone Edge or a Shadow Claw. So, I mean, that would have been hazardous to Frostlass. But right here, I know his Scarf now, so he's not going to want to stay in. And I'm just going to take the opportunity to set up the Layer Spikes, because it's the safest thing to do. And right now he goes for the Zapdos. And this Zapdos is kind of scary, and I don't really want to lose my Frostlass just now. And so I'm just going to go to Swampert, because it's kind of a mixed wall, and it can take special hits very well. Like, considering this is Zapdos, it should wall it completely. But then as soon as I switched in, I remembered, oh wait, these things like to carry hidden power growths. And wouldn't you know it, it has it. So right now it goes for it, and yeah, just consider this is Zapdos. I mean, I have max HP and I think half special defense and and yeah, I take that very well, much better than I thought. I thought it would take me out, but I'm able to get my Stealth Rocks up, and right now Swampert, well, it's pretty much fodder. I mean, I have no other use for it other than Scalding and Earthquaking, and I don't really need the Earthquake for Zapdos, and I do that. So anyway, so I'm just going to leave it in. I don't want anything else to take Thunderbolt, just in case you want to project that. And so I'm just going to go back to my lead. Best thing to do, I'm guessing. I'm going to go for a Destiny Bond. And I'm kind of surprised he didn't take this and would have switched out. Yeah, but I mean, getting that Zapdos away right now is the best thing to happen. I mean, that Zapdos, it seems like a very, very huge threat. I'm guessing it probably expert belted. Well, it might have been leftovers, but I mean, I didn't really see the Substitute or a Roost. Well, obviously not a Roost, but yeah, it would have had Thunderbolt, Heat Wave, and Hidden Hourglass, and maybe some other move, but I have no idea. So yeah, right now I'm just going to go to my Victini, it's double down. I'm bringing in whatever I think is fastest, and I'm bringing in, I think it's my Bandit Victini, and then I know that a U-turn will do quite a lot to it, because I don't want to stay in from possible water or ground move, and it might set Stealth Rocks, it might not, but I really don't want to risk anything. So yeah, right now I go to my Shaman, and this Shaman is quite special, because it is purely defensive. As in, I have max HP and max defense, and so, yeah, I mean, this Shaman is the bane of everyone's life. Unless you have a grass type, this thing will wall you for days. Yeah, he sounds like his Heracross at the moment. I think I go for a Leech Seed. Maybe I do, or a Substitute. Yeah, I go for a Substitute on this turn. And basically what I'm going to be doing now is Substorming. Yeah, I know you don't really like that, but it seemed like the best move to do, and well, whittling away that Heracross's HP it's a blessing in disguise. So yeah, he's going to hit me with a Mega Horn, he's actually going to hit, and obviously that's going to take my sub out, even with max defense, max HP. And I get the Leech Seed off, and that's great. Right now I think I go for Protect. Yes, I carry Protect, Substitute, and Leech Seed, so I'll be recovering a lot of HP with this Shaman. And the only attacking move I have Seed Flare, so that's not going to do much. So yeah, it sends out Suicune. Yeah, I'm going to go for Protect, and he actually switches out into a Suicune, and so this isn't going to be a very favourable matchup for me, but considering I am a Grass type, I was hoping that any Scalds I'm going to be hit with aren't going to do much. I don't have any special defense investment, but I know Shaman has base 100 special defense and it's resisted, so yeah, it should be okay at the moment. But right now I'm fearing the most of the Kroku set, and I don't really have much to deal with that. So I was going to go for a Leech Seed here, as he does go for a Calm Mind, kind of confirming that he's a Kroku, and kind of scaring me a lot. So right now I'm gonna, I hit the Leech Seed thankfully, and I do take away 8 of his health, negating that lefty's recovery, and wearing it down quickly as well. So right now I'm going to go for a Sea Flare as he goes for an Ice Beam. But Ice Beam does a lot more than I thought it would. Considering it was a +1 Suicune, it's kind of acceptable, but I really wasn't expecting that much damage. And at least they confirmed that he isn't a Kroku set, and my entire team isn't going to die this week. It's bulky as hell, but Shaman should be able to do that. And so right now, all this Lefty's recovery, Leech Seed recovery, negating that Suicune's recovery, giving Shaman all his health, or not all his health, but quite fair health. But if right now he goes for a Calm Mind, then I don't really know what I was predicting here. I mean, maybe he thought I'd go for a Protect, but no, I just really want to get the Suicune out of the way right now. And so a Sea Flare seemed like the best option. Luckily I hit, and I take it out, which is very, very good, because that Suicune would have been a huge threat to me. And luckily it's out now, and I have nothing to worry about. But then again, here comes Victini. Here comes Victini. Luckily I have Spikes and Stealth Rock out, so it's going to take a hell of a lot of entry hazard damage. And right now it's going to Protect, just to see what move it's going to go for. Turns out he goes for the V-Create. I'm not going to play any games. I'm thinking it might be choice in some way, so I'm just going to switch out to my Arcanine and hopefully get in that Flash Fire boost. And right now he does reveal that he goes for the V-Create again, and that semi confirms that he is choice. So luckily that Flash Fire boost raises my Fire type moves special attacks as such. And right now I'm just going to go for the Extreme Speed. No, I'll go for Flare Blitz. So Flare Blitz, stab and +1 now. That should do quite a lot, and actually takes the Swampert out. It's a pretty cool hit, but I'm not sure. It should. I think it might have been able to live, but I don't know. It seems debatable to me. It was essentially a +2 Arcanine, so debatable. I don't know. But if right now comes the Heracross, and I'm going to go for an Extreme Speed, just get as much health away from that as possible. I knew it was Scarf from earlier because it used the suit, and I was outspeeding my Frostlass, so I didn't really want to go for a Flamethrower or such, and I just wanted to get that out of the way. Right now it goes, the Miss Magius comes in and Shadow Balls my Arcanine. I couldn't really out for Extreme Speed because it's a Ghost type, and any other, I think I went for Flare Blitz there. And obviously it outsped, so I couldn't do much. So right now I'm going to go for my Honchkrow, and this Honchkrow is quite a special set. It has Sucker Punch, Brave Bird, Boost, and Substitute. And right now I can't use Sucker Punch because, it won't hit if you go for Substitute and not Flip, which I do predict it will have. Right now, the first time I predicted a Nasty Plot, so I went for a Substitute, and luckily that happens, so I go for a Substitute, but he goes for a Substitute on his first turn as well, so that kind of caught me off guard there. He does go for a Nasty Plot on the second turn, so I am going to be able to boost off all that damage, including Entry Hazard and the Substitute damage. So I'm back at 4, which is good news, but he's at +2 and he's behind the sub. And that's kind of, very scary. So he now reveals his 4th move, which is Thunderbolt, and that isn't good for me at all. But right now I'm just going to go for Brave Bird, just fearing they might set +4, and I didn't want to risk Sucker Punch wasting a turn of mine. So I go for the Brave Bird. I take some recoil, but I mean getting that sub out of the way was the safest move for me. Right now he goes for another Substitute here, but luckily he has Life Orb, and you'll see that comes into play in a bit. But right now I went for the Sucker Punch. It failed, but he he's going to have to go for the attacking move now because, well, Sucker Punch, he might have feared the Brave Bird or Sucker Punch anyways. And yeah, my Punch Bell's life will whittle it down. But luckily, Miss Magus has its own life ball, so it will whittle it down. And yeah, my Punch Bow has to be left in for Death Fodder, but luckily it's at a range where it's maybe 8 or 9% of its hit points, and Shaman will be able to come in as a Death Fodder and, well, essentially sack itself so that I'll be able to get my Victini in, and yeah, it'll be like a one-on-one in the end of the situation. So yeah, Shaman goes down at the highly appreciative price, I'd say, of getting away his Miss Magus, whatever it is. But yeah, right now we're both going to our Japanese Victinis. Why do we both have Japanese Victinis? Oh well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, right now I'm thinking good game because I'm thinking he's scarfed. I'm banded, so he's also going to outspeed me. He goes for the V-Create. And yeah, I mean, it was a good game, HikenNoAce. Recreate is too powerful. Go Victini. Stab. Wow. But what? What? I live. And right now I misclick and actually go for U-turn, but it doesn't really matter, does it? But I just lived the V-Create. I get a crit. It didn't matter, but I lived. And I just killed him. I mean, it was a great game, HikenNoAce. Rematch later someday. So yeah, rate, comment, sub, guys. Thank you. Peace.